Okay, you guys in theory should love the last clip then, because this product is basically trying to replace your smartphone, essentially. So this is Humane with a new concept. This was like the best way to drop it, because it was a TED Talk. It's like the best way to do product placement, to drop it in the middle of a TED Talk. So props to them from the marketing perspective. But essentially, it's like a little camera slash mic slash device slash projector which sits in your pocket, and then if you hold out your hand you can display some limited information that you want, whether that's a call, whether that's some words and some information. Obviously, all voice enabled. There is no keyboard or anything like that. He holds up a snack bar, and then he uses AI to say, "Hey, can I eat this?" And it reads the information and the ingredients based on what's online, and it will give him the information. You can use it for your calendar. You can use it, hey, what's next to my schedule, and it will just read the schedule to you. Hey, summarize my emails, and it will give you the top emails and give you the key information. So, this is definitely going the opposite. Google are going, "Hey, we need a bigger screen. We need more information that you can see." Humane are saying, look, let's take calls, let's take the AI camera, let's take Siri voice, and let's put it into something which doesn't exist, so it fades into the background. There's no phone, and it's just an extension of you, an AI companion connected to you. Obviously, there's limitations, right? You can't start typing out an email. I suppose you could do the voice to reply to stuff, but I personally, I don't know if I would want to replace my smartphone. I've just become so addicted to having that with me, but I can certainly see why this would be appealing to a lot of people. But what are your perspectives on the Humane? I wouldn't even say smartphone; it's the Humane computing concept, maybe. Harry, what's your
these guys are ex-Apple, right?
I don't know where they come from in their background, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the presentation on stage was very Steve Jobsy, wasn't it? And I'm rocking my Steve Jobs look today as well. So I mean.
Yeah, I'd definitely try this. I think exactly as I was saying earlier, the sort of reduction in screens is, I think, just such a good thing for me. Exactly as you just said, it's like an addiction, right? Like your smartphone is. I am. My name's Harry, and I have a smartphone addiction. I really do. I need to get less screens in my life, and I'd love to try this tech. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be the last step on the journey, but it certainly looks like a good stepping stone. Yeah.
What I'd like about it is when I got my Apple Watch, that hasn't replaced my smartphone, definitely, but it has replaced certain apps that I use on, like alarms. I use Siri voice to set alarms, and I have pre-programmed 10 of them a day that go off at certain times when I've got to feed the dog or make something for the baby or something like that. And it's all designed there. My Siri's going off as I'm saying that right now. Got to use that word. Music, I use it to pause and play songs that are connected to all the different smart speakers and my smart home setup and timers. So I use it for 3 or 4 things, which is better use cases than my phone, and it stops me from pulling it out the pocket all the time. I think that this is what this would do. It would be great for like 3 or 4 applications, and it would stop me from using the smartphone as much. So I think it's an extension rather than a replacement to me. But I get what you're saying. I'd like to try it, and it would certainly be cool to use. Fred, what's your take on the Humane concept?
Like the concept a lot, and if it can keep me off my phone, great. How it works or how effective it is, and where the camera is, and how all the tech works, and can it work while I'm running, and all those kind of questions would need to be answered. It reminds me a little bit of some of the smart assistants, the Alexas, and when they first came out, they were great, and there are lots of apps, and then they kind of fade into the background a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find the more devices I get, the more time I spend on devices. It's not like if I take this and then I take the time on my phone, I don't think it's going to net less time combined. So I think it's like a bit of technology creep. It's like just another thing that I'm going to be aware of, and that will distract me from experiencing the real world that I'm in. So that even if it's just shining a light on my hand, it's a distraction. So I am concerned about that, and the fact that it's with me all the time, and it's kind of available all the time, and it's so easy to activate. Some concerns there.
It's like, I can't remember the exact term for what this is, but there's a if you go to somebody and say, hey, can I put this really, really small plaque in your yard to promote this political candidate, and it's tiny, and like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And then next week you come back and you're like, hey, can I get a little bit of a bigger version there? And then you put it in, and then like before long, inch by inch, you've then got like a huge Trump flag outside your window or something crazy, right? So I mean, it can inch by inch, tech can just take over your life. And I get what you're saying. You know, when we have AR glasses, when we have smart watches, when we have Humane's plug-in, it's all these devices that are meant to replace the smartphone are just adding to tech time
and dependency.
So yeah,
it's like every time you ask someone a question, it's like they automatically go to Google. Well, now I'm not going to have to go to, I can just ask the question.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're just not going to know, or you're going to rack your brain and try to remember it. And sometimes you'll remember it and sometimes you won't. But again, that dependency on the technology and having more ways to interact with technology and more things to charge at night is something I think, you know, I'm already past my tolerance for.
Yeah, the charging is too much. I just got an extension cable for my extension cable on my bedside table because I've got so much stuff there. Yeah, that's something that they need to think about. Wireless charging, like come on, like figure it out. I mean, I know it's really hard. I know, but it
doesn't work well. I have one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I say wireless charging, I don't mean putting it down. I mean through the air. You know, that would be the first trillionaire would be the inventor of wireless charging, true wireless charging. Mikhail, what's your take on the Humane device?
I thought the technology looked incredibly compelling. I think the crossover between sort of machine learning and generative AI, like that they were doing, and then integrating it into the applications that you already use, like amazing. Some of the machine translation stuff that they were doing in your own voice in real time, that kind of stuff, like that's super impressive. I think the technology, very compelling. The product, I'm not sure that this is the next step that we're going on. I think perhaps unfortunately where we're moving towards is like biohacking, Neuralink, like that's the long-term end game probably. Sure. Integration into our senses, whereas this is more like projection into the external world, right? You have voice interfaces with your voice assistant on your body, and you have projection onto your hand. Like, I'm not sure, I mean, I personally find it annoying when people are talking on the phone on the bus. I don't care if you're talking to a person or to your voice assistant. Like, it's going to be annoying either way, and most people would be embarrassed to use it in that sense. And I also don't want my private text messages projected in front of me when I receive them. Like, sure. Who knows what's in there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that's the direction we're going. I think, you know, I mentioned it previously. I think Apple's probably looking at eyewear still. Yeah. I think that's coming in 2-3 years when they think it's right. They're not Google. They're not going to just put it out there. Sure. They're going to get it right. And when they do, that will be incredibly impactful. And I think, you know, that moves us into like the integration into senses because it's right in front of your eyes. It's closer to you rather than projecting. And I think that's probably where we're headed.
Yeah. I don't think AR will ever replace the smartphone because it'll be similar to the watch. You'll have a little for maps, it'll be good for directions, it'll be good for text alerts, and you can speak to it and you can get limited information. Whereas with a phone, you can do so much more because you have a screen in your hand. I mean, I know the people that believe in the metaverse from a VR perspective, they think that's the replacement to the smartphone, and that is the final, because that is a lot more that you can do if you can see a complete digital world. You're disagreeing. Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, in its current form, the metaverse is a bit of a joke, right? I mean, it's not where it needs to be. But when the graphics become indistinguishable from real life, who knows what will happen at that point?